as we have got a team focused in a particular town, a particular city, an area, and they keep putting in objections and they keep educating the town planners, the councillors, we are starting to see the rate of refusals going up.
So today we have Ian Jarvis, and Ian is actually an activist and speaker on the topics of the dangers of 5G and electromagnetic fields. So it's great to have you on the show today, Ian.
Thanks. It's lovely to be with you at this distance, John.
Absolutely. And tell us about the recent advancements with 5G. I mean, are we getting faster internet speeds now? Is everybody really pleased with their increased internet speeds?
It depends what you're particularly talking about. No is probably the answer. It's so complicated because we're getting surrounded by more and more different types of masts and hubs and, and smart devices all the time. So it's dependent very much on where you are. If you're talking about a faster mobile phone signal, the reports I'm finding from people I know who have got, what we call these days a 5G enabled phone, which doesn't necessarily mean it's getting 5G at the moment. And I think 5G is being, in the UK at any rate, it's being used and put out at various levels and different frequencies. We're not using, shall we say, nationwide, the very high frequencies that 5G has been advertised for all this time. And most people I speak with who have got it on their phones, supposedly, say that it's made a very little difference or no difference at all. And indeed, I've even had people saying they switched to where it said 5G on the phone face, and then they switch back again because they're getting a better response of 4G. So that's the most I can say. I've not got a 5G enabled phone, so I can't speak from direct experience, but that's the feedback I'm getting. One of my responses is, for your phone call, it doesn't make any difference whatsoever. How fast can I speak? How fast can you reply to me? That's human being speeds. It's not machine-to-machine speeds. And when we see comments like I often show in my talks about the Ericsson saying they want to virtualize everything, and they talk about or they write about machine-to-machine communication, or intelligent machines is sometimes the word they use, and intelligence and machines do not go as two words that should be said in one sentence.
I regularly take magnesium because it helps me to get a much deeper and more restful sleep at night. It's also great for lowering stress and supports heart health and brain health. It's often referred to as the most important mineral of all. I personally recommend Clive de Carle's Magnesium blend, since it covers a range of magnesium deficiencies. To support this channel, please select the link in the description box below.
So, which are like artificial intelligence. If it's artificial, it's not intelligence. We can't even decide what intelligence is in human terms, let alone anything else. So,
AI, that's a big one, isn't it? It's all about AI now, right? And machine-to-machine learning. Wait, are they lying to us? I thought this was going to be great for us.
Of course it is. Absolutely. Absolutely. You better believe it. What could AI can have some benefits. It can, it's a long conversation, and I do talk about it in one of the orientations of my talks, of course.
Sure. Well, look, I appreciate you making the time today. And what are you primarily working on now, Ian? Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, the last 3 or 4 years, we've been really focusing on planning applications for what we now call base stations for 4G and 5G. In the UK, most 3G is being phased out. It's not completely gone yet. I'm not quite sure what's happening about 2G, and we have got very little, if any, what they're calling standalone 5G, i.e. 5G from end to end. And a lot of the core networks are still in the 4G arena, which is, to me, is not a problem. And but we've been focusing on the planning for several reasons, actually. The first one is it's a very good way of raising awareness. If I look outside my window, or lots of people look outside on the streets, they see these things coming on their streets, and they're not sure what they are. They don't really like them. That often people are not quite sure why they shouldn't like them, but many people have a strange feeling, and lots of people say, they're not getting anything improved. And so it can make awareness. If there is a mask going to be placed in this address, and I go around with my colleagues and we deliver leaflets, you get another 500, 600, 1,000 people who are made aware that there's a new base station coming in. So yes, so it makes awareness of the local people, which is really, really important, because many people are not aware of exactly what Wi-Fi really is. Or indeed how it's affecting them. So is it affecting their health? Well, that's a question to be answered, and we will answer it. But then, of course, we can put objections in. We have a different system in the UK to many other countries. Most other countries, they have to apply for planning permission to put this mast, this base station, in this particular place. And that applies to the vast majority of the base stations, the big 4G, 5G base stations. So that gives us a way of getting in and being able to write objections to our council, which also educates and raises awareness in our councils as well. I always tell people, if you're going to put in an objection, don't just write to the planning department, write to your councillor as well, and your MP too, if you want to. A member of parliament, for those not familiar with the UK. That has a really great benefit in those respects. The other thing is, you don't need a degree in electromagnetic radiation or anything in order to put in an objection. You can say, this is going to be cluttering up my streets. I don't want it. It's in front of the supermarket. How do I push my twins in their pram round this damn thing to get into the supermarket? So there's lots of very normal human scale objections that you can write, and the planners recognize those. It looks ugly in this street. We've got a beautiful green view of the park at the end of the road. This mast is going to obscure it. Those sorts of things matter to town planners. There's conservation areas as well. So there's a lot of normal things that can use them, and people get used to doing that. And then you can leave it to the people like me and our close teams to put in the technical objections as well. And so we've been doing that. And what I've noticed in the last couple of years, at least, as we have got a team focused in a particular town, a particular city, an area, and they keep putting in objections and they keep educating the town planners, the councillors, we are starting to see the rate of refusals going up. And in places where they have got that concentration, even just with one person, there's one person, Meg's in Bristol, has been working in Bristol, and she's mostly alone. And she's getting between 70 and 80% refusals to the masts. That's just one person. Wow. Working. So you can do it. So we are noticing, since we've had that focus, that the number of refusals as a percentage is increasing.
That's really impressive.
So that really does make a difference. Again, I do know that in places, America in particular, and other places, they don't have a planning system, and they can basically just dump them wherever they want to. And that does make it a little bit more difficult to handle. So I can't really speak to those. But what I would say to people in those other cities, if you don't have a planning regime, then make people aware of it. Write letters to your politicians, to your local representatives in all sorts of areas. That's the way to start people just thinking and having a thought about what's actually going on, and whether it's a great idea to have all these masks all over the place.
Yeah. So let's say, in your neighborhood, you hear they're trying to put a mast up. People are worried all across the UK about these big masts, these big 5G masts, these towers going up all around their neighborhood. What are some basic sort of action-based steps people can take on board right now? What would you say to people? Where would you direct them to?
The most important thing that anybody can do, the first task, the first job, is to learn about your council website. That's how you find out when there is an application, because they have to put it on the council website and notify the people that there's an application coming. So you need to know how to do that. Number one, most important. If you wait until to give me a call and say, Ian, I've got a mast going up opposite my gate and my front gate of my house, what can I do? I say it's too late. You've got to get onto it whilst the application is new. And then you can write letters to all the local people. Numbers do count. The more objections, the more people arguing against it, and we're getting more and more now, then the better. And the more of them who are local, it's even better. Although in the UK, the regulation is that anybody can object to any application, no matter where it is. So I live in the Midlands in a place called Wolverhampton, and I can object to a mast in Aberdeen, Edinburgh, Totnes, etc., all around the country. Some of the councils don't like it and they argue, but in actual fact, that is the truth of it. So that's the next thing people can do. You can spread the word, and we have a website, Esther's List, which is designed to help people do that, and written by your good self, of course. And then you start writing your letters in, and the process carries. It's a slightly lengthy program, but it takes less than 2 months for each mast, because they have to be approved or rejected within that time frame. So that's the thing. It gets a lot more complicated than that, but the basics are there. So it's awareness, knowing one's coming, and then writing to your representatives, to the council itself, and with relevant points. Yeah.
That's great. And are there any other resources people can look at to really help them with all of this? Any video resources or any information on any other website? I think there's one other website that you might want to mention.
There's a lot of websites around the place, actually, which is very confusing. But we have one.
What's the one that you've got?
Which is Ian Jarvis. It's innocently called ianjarvis.co.uk. We did have another one before, but this is the current one, and it's my name, but it's not just me. It's not about me. It's about all the team. But my name is apparently fairly well known around in the UK, and people often looking for me. They can find that really easily. And there's information on there. There's videos on there, and I haven't got around putting many other links on there, but you can find links in your own country as well, in your own language, if you're not UK based. There's almost too many. Somebody did offer to write me a personal website a while back, and I said no. There's too many already. It's just confusing. So I will be putting some more links on that for people to look at, and there are international sites as well around the world, in America particularly. There's lots. You just do a search, and you can find links that are for it and links that are against it. It's important. I think it's important for people that they read both sides of the question. Some of the techie magazines think it's the best thing since sliced bread. And there can be nothing wrong with it. Look at all these things. I was reading something a few days ago from a magazine called Tech Radar, and they were talking in glowing terms about something called Zigbee. which is a networking system. Possibly a little bit like Bluetooth, but short term, and they say this will give you the control of all your smart devices in your smart home. How wonderful can that be? And there's no mention about radiation or the effects that, the fact that we've known since at least the 1930s that EMFs, radio frequencies, non-ionizing radiation, whichever term you want to use, can harm biological flesh.
Absolutely. You've got the 5G, the Space Appeal, emfscientist.org, so many resources, and, scientific articles. You had the Lancet, of course. So I think the information's out there. People have just got to look for it. ianjarvis.co.uk is a great resource for people who are just not sure what to do. They're panicking. Maybe they've heard that a mast application may come forward or something's going on, and they can find out what practical steps they can take to prevent these towers from going up. And I think that's really key. There's some really good articles on there, videos, and, you keep it regularly updated. So, just really want to thank you, Ian. I think, people really need to educate themselves, but you provide these practical steps that have given a lot of people hope. And for a long time, people have been figuring out how to try and stop this, how to try and slow this down. But so far in this big fight against the towers, this seems to be the most effective way in which we're stopping these towers. So I'm really excited about it.
I think so at the moment, John. Yeah. I mean, the other thing that's happening at this moment is we're getting lots more different things coming through. The towers are one thing, and they're really, really important, but we're also getting street hubs. These are the boxes that look like they've got adverts on them usually, and they stand and they have 5G small cells in them, and they're usually in shopping centres where there's lots of people. So they're sending out the frequencies at ground level, exactly where little children are walking all the way. So that's one thing. We're also getting involved with solar so-called parks. I call them solar not parks. There's nothing further from the idea of a farm or a park than a whole range of solar panels across a field and battery, container-sized boxes with batteries in them. So they are industrial-scale electricity generating plants by any other name across our agricultural and farming lands. So they are also subject to planning applications as well. Of course, our government is totally for them and is looking to override every democratic step of the way. So we are getting many more types of devices and things that are coming through the planning system, fortunately, at the moment, and all of which need approaching, all of which send out broadcasts in some way, non-ionizing radiation. So that's why we include those sorts of things in the work that we do.
Absolutely. It's really important. I mean, look at our farmland and countryside. You don't only have the inheritance tax that's really hurting farmers right now, but all of these solar panels just being plastered across our countryside. And of course, Labour is really trying to ram this through. And that, as those videos state on your website, they're not as efficient as they're claimed to be. And there's a lot of misinformation out there about, how much energy they're really going to provide for us. So I think it's really important that people see those videos, isn't it?
Yeah, there is, as you say, a lot of misinformation, and it's the same with electric vehicles as well, isn't it? They talk about this will run along with no carbon dioxide pollution. Yes, but they forget to mention everything that was in the manufacturing process to, from digging up the mines to the finished vehicle, and then from the vehicle finished using batteries and disposal, etc., etc. They don't talk about that. This vehicle runs net zero, is what they say, and that may be to a certain extent true, but in overall it isn't.
That's it.
So that's where the link comes in with the net zero campaign, which is particularly strong in the UK, and I think also in the US too, and Germany. I think also many countries around the world are running scared of this, and then with sustainability, or with the extra amount of electricity that all these things are going to be needing, we can't do it with solar panels. We can't do it with wind. We've got to have many more reliable and stable resources. If you want a data center to run, you cannot run it on renewable energy as currently developed, because it is not reliable and stable enough to do that. So it's a big issue. It's a big issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for being a sane voice in the madness, Ian. And yeah, I mean, how can people get in touch? I think there's a contact section on your website, isn't there? Ian Jarvis.
There is indeed contacts. There is indeed contacts on the website, and anybody can go there. And there's I think 2 or 3 different ways you can write an email to. I've got a team working with me. It's not just me. And one of the email addresses, well, all the email addresses actually are to those people in the team. And if they can't handle the query, they'll pass it on to me. So it's a good system. It works. There's no hierarchy. We all get on together. And yeah, that's the way that works. So they can get in touch with me via the website. That's the easiest of easy ways to do it.
That's great. And how do people financially support you, Ian, if they want to donate or help you in some way?
Well, that's a good question, John. Yes, well, there is, again, as you know, because you developed it, there is a donate button on the website. And I've got a buy me coffee link on when I send emails out to people. There's a buy me a coffee link, and you can make regular donations also. If people want to, they can do a small amount every month, even a couple of quid. That's pounds sterling, by the way, to the non-UK people. A couple of pounds. £5, whatever. If they can do that once a month, it makes a big difference, because I do travel around the country, and I insist mostly on doing it physically, so I can be there with a crowd of people, and they can see me, and we can interact on that human level. And I've got equipment and so on. I think I'm going to have to get a new projector, which will cost me a few £100 at least, and the maintenance and so on websites, all those things cost money, and most of it is coming out of my pocket. And as you can see, I am of retired age and on a relatively fixed income. So it all helps, and it all goes to a good cause. And if others need assistance as well, then some of it will go to those, if they're relevant to what we're doing.
Absolutely. And I've got to just, share my testimonial that your talk in Totnes, as well as all of the information you provided for us, was a big help in helping to bring hope to people and to raise awareness about planning and about, slowing down this process of towers going up. And I think, I've heard so many successes of people managing to stop towers. And from all I've come across so far, what you're doing is producing the results. So I just want to say to people, please support Ian with what he's doing. Please check out the website, ianjarvis.co.uk. There's esterslist.org. Please look at these resources and please get active, because ultimately...
That's the most important thing. That last thing you said, John, is, we do need more people supporting us and being out there. It doesn't have to be to do the technical work. If you've got a pair of legs and can deliver a few leaflets to neighbourhoods, then that is just as valuable as anything else. So all those sorts of we need hands out there. We know we've got lots of people supporting us. We know many people are, I hate to use a term, but I'll use it, on our side. But for many reasons, they're not actually being active. And taking action is what really matters. It really matters.
Definitely. Absolutely. Thank you very much for listening today. For more information, go to ianjarvis.co.uk and please like and subscribe to this channel. I regularly take magnesium because it helps me to get a much deeper and more restful sleep at night. It's also great for lowering stress and supports heart health and brain health. It's often referred to as the most important mineral of all. I personally recommend Clive de Carle's Magnesium blend since it covers a range of magnesium deficiencies. To support this channel, please select the link in the description box below.